In this video, we're going to take a look at one of the most iconic classic pistols of the 20th century and John Browning's last design, the Browning High Power. And my father, who passed away in June the 3rd of this year, would have been 85 years old this month, July 2019. And he is the man that taught me to shoot, he taught me to play guitar, and he taught me what it is to be a man. And the very first pistol that I have any recollection of is his Browning High Power. Now, unfortunately, he sold it a long time ago, but in commemoration of his life and his kind of starting me on my lifelong membership in the gun culture, so to speak, I found one and I bought it. So I'm going to give you a closer look at it, talk about the specs to it, take you to the range with me and all that good stuff. Coming up next here on Survival on Purpose. Welcome back to Survival on Purpose, your home for information, gear reviews related to camping, survival, and general preparedness for regular folks. My name's Brian. Thanks for joining me. So, first of all, let me say, as I try to start every video having anything to do with firearms, I'm not any sort of a firearms expert. I've never been in the military or in law enforcement. I'm just a guy who, as I said, has been kind of involved in the gun culture here in America for over 50 years. So, if I say something stupid, please forgive me. And also, you may have heard, this is Saturday afternoon here in the worldwide headquarters of Survival on Purpose in American suburbia, so there's no telling what kind of noises you're going to hear. We got dogs, we may have lawnmowers. My son is practicing learning some songs for a professional drum gig in the house a little ways off, so life at Survival on Purpose. But anyway, real quick, let me show you. We are safe here, no rounds in there, no magazine there, so we're good. So this is the Browning High Power that I bought from the folks at Classic Firearms. Now this was my understanding was it was a European police trade-in, so it's got some wear on it. And yes, I bought it. They didn't send it to me, and I think they're already sold out of these. I checked last night, so there's no bias here. I'm not trying to sell you a gun or anything. I just want to show you mine. And maybe we'll talk a little bit about the Browning High Power and you know the features of it, and talk, you know, show you how it breaks down and all that, and just in case you're curious. And then we'll take you to the range and show you my mediocre marksmanship and with this thing and wrap it up. And we'll do all that right after this word from one of our sponsors. This video is sponsored by my friends at Sportsman's Guide, your one-stop shop for all kinds of gear pertaining to camping, survival, and general preparedness. I've been a customer for Sportsman's Guide for a number of years now. I'm happy to have them as a sponsor for the channel. So there'll be a link in the description below and probably one right up here. I encourage you to check them out. I think you'll be glad you did. Okay, we're back. So without further ado, let me just take you down to the old stump top here where we can take a little closer look at the Browning High Power. Okay, so I promise there's a stump top under there. See it? So, but I thought this would be a little better background. You can see things a little better than the black on brown. So, okay, so here is the Browning High Power. You can see this is a Belgian Browning from Fabrique Nationale in Belgium. So this is a genuine Belgian Browning. Now, real quickly, the Browning High Power was John Browning's last design, but he actually died before it was completed. It was completed by somebody else, and I can't pronounce his name and don't remember what it is, but I'm sure you can look that up. But it was actually released for production in 1934. This particular model is a 1984 model because I looked it up from the serial number. So this one's 35 years old, and it was actually manufactured 50 years after the first Browning High Power rolled off the assembly line. So the Browning High Power has been out of production for 2 years or so. It went out of production in 2017, so you can't buy a new one anymore from Browning. So let's talk about the specs real quick. The length of the pistol is 7 3/4 inches, and the height this way is 5 inches. And at the widest point with the factory plastic grip panels on it, it is 1.41 inches. Has a 4.6-inch barrel, has a 13-round magazine, and with a fully loaded magazine, it weighs 2.2 pounds, or 2 pounds and 3 ounces. And since this is a European Browning, for those of you still maybe stuck in that old metric system, that's 197 millimeters long by 127.5 millimeters high at the grip by 36 millimeters wide, and the barrel is 118 millimeters, and it weighs 1.06 kilograms. So there you go, how's that? So let's talk about a couple of pros and cons, and then we'll show you how this thing breaks down, and we'll take you to the range. So some of the pros are, since this was John Browning's last design, And after he died, but before it was put into production, some of the patents ran out on the 1911. So there's some of the features on this that were borrowed from the 1911 design, and there's some that think this was actually an improvement over the 1911 design, and especially in the way it takes down and a couple of the ways it's designed. And we'll take a look at those real quickly. Again, I'm not an expert, but this is also a 85-year-old pistol design. And there are a couple of things which are modern pistols really have that this one doesn't have, and we're going to talk about those real quick. First of all, there's no attachment points, as you'll notice. No rails. You're not putting a light on this one. You're not doing anything like that. This is before that was ever a possibility. The mag well itself has really no flare. It's just a straight out cut. You got to get it in place. I mean, there's zero bevel there. So for quick reloads, it's a little harder. And then the mag itself doesn't drop free. It's not designed to drop free. If you push the mag release, it drops out a little bit, but you have to manually pull it out. So if you're like used to doing quick reloads with your Glock, it's not going to happen with this. You got to use two hands. One of the features that I think is not as good as the 1911 is the safety. It's got the same kind of safety here, but you can see that safety lever is nowhere near as pronounced as the 1911. So if you're used to carrying a 1911 style pistol cocked and locked, I'm trying to do this right-handed in the camera, you can still get it, but it just doesn't feel as positive. It's not very big, and putting it on is not as easy either. So, but it's there and it works. A couple of other potential negatives are for some people, if you have big hands, this hammer when it comes back can bite you. For me, it's not a problem. You can see I have a pretty good little gap there, but if you have kind of meaty hands, this thing's going to come back that far. Every time you shoot it, it's going to cycle back, and it could hit you. And then the final kind of drawback for some people for these pistols is the trigger pull. This one has, I measured it with a Wheeler trigger gauge, digital trigger gauge, and it is about 8.5 pound average, which is pretty heavy for modern pistols. And it's also not the smoothest trigger because this thing has a magazine disconnect, which means that if the magazine's out, you can't pull the trigger, which is another potential drawback to carrying this thing for a concealed carry for self-defense. But let me just try to show you that. So we got it cocked and locked, cocked and unlocked actually, and so you can see the take up on the trigger right here. That's got about that much just slack, and as soon as you hit that little wall there, then it's pretty crisp. It's heavy, but it's crisp. Now, the other thing is the trigger reset. Let me see if I don't know if you can even, you probably can't hear it because I can't hear it, but I'm gonna try to show you where it's at. So as we go, let it go out. There's the reset, and it was very, very almost inaudible and not really tactile, but it was there. So if you're used to really practicing your trigger reset, it's going to take a lot of getting used to, but it's a really good shooting pistol, and it feels good in your hand. It just really feels really nice in your hand. And it's classic, and it's cool. So anyway, having said all that, let me just show you the takedown because I think it's got the 1911 beat for takedown and field stripping, and then we'll take it to the range to wrap this up. So the way you take the pistol down is first take the mag out. You make sure that it's not loaded, okay? And then actually the safety lever, you can see there's a notch here for the safety. There's another notch right here, and that is for your takedown notch. So you want to, and I'm going to try to do this for the camera. It's going to be, if I can see to do it. Got to push it back there and then put your safety up into that notch. And that just holds the slide back. That's all it's for, is just to hold the slide back while you take it down. And then there's a pin on the back here, and that's going to push this takedown lever out. Just kind of mess with it, wiggle a little bit, and push it until it comes out. You might have to move it around a little bit and pull it right up. And then hold the slide back. You got to hold the slide because it's got the recoil spring's going to slam it forward if you don't. I'm trying to do this on camera. It's just such a pain in the butt. I'm just going to turn it upside down. Hold the slide back, push the lever down, and remove the slide. Then you get your frame off, your takedown lever, your slide, and just reach in and push the recoil spring forward and lift it up and out. Then you can lift the barrel out. Now this is the dirt from 50 rounds of firing. So I cleaned this thing before I fired it, but it does have 50 rounds through it, and it was some kind of Walmart ammo, cheap ammo, Winchester or something like that. So, but as you can see, one thing you see different than the 1911, there's no toggle link here with a pivot in it, so it's all one piece there, very solid. And then if you can look down in there, that is the magazine disconnect, and There's videos on the internet on how to remove that. You got to pull some pins out and take it out. I'm probably not going to remove it just because, you know, I don't plan on carrying this pistol. I just bought it for nostalgia because I think it's cool. So anyway, that's how easy it is to take this thing down. To put it back together, it's just a reverse of it. There's no barrel bushing or anything to deal with, no toggle link. Just put this in. You put your recoil spring back in. Now, one thing I will want you to notice, you look at this, there's a little notch here, and it's off-centered. It's centered more to that side. And then the recoil spring is also, it's got a little circle on it here, and the circle's off-centered. So you want to make sure you match up the orientation of that, which means that basically when you put it in, not basically, but definitely when you put it in, you have to push it back and just make sure it's in that little notch. And you'll see if it's right because this will be lined up properly here. And then just put it back on the slide like so. Pull it all the way back until you get to the notch again. Put your safety up into the takedown notch right there. And work your takedown lever back in. And then pull it back. Release it, and you are good to go. Now it does have kind of a we call it a half cock, or I don't know what you call it, but it's got a little notch on the hammer which keeps it off the firing pin. But that I wouldn't leave it there with a round in the chamber. Period. I just wouldn't. That's just me. Anyway, let's go shoot this thing. Okay, so I took it to the range, and at about 25 feet, and this is my first group. 13 rounds. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there's like 5 right here. So actually the first 4 or 5 were all right here, did really well. And then I think, I don't know, I started flinching or jerking a little bit and wound up all out here. But still, that's within the, I guess, the vital areas if you needed to at 25 feet. And then since my dad kind of inspired this, I thought it'd be good to take one of my sons with me to shoot it the first time. So my youngest son, this was his group and his first group ever shooting this pistol. And he's got a couple of flyers here, but he actually had a really, really tight group here also at 25 feet. So then I was trying to do a couple of double taps, and I wound up with a couple in the head up here and several down here. So the ones are all me at 21 feet. And then at 50 feet, I shot a few others, and I wasn't too thrilled with that. I got one way down here, and the rest of them are like 1, 2, 3, 4, so about 4 or 5 right in here, so at 50 feet. And then Josh at 25 feet was all right here, and at 50 feet, Josh was down here, and I think he had one off the paper here. So, okay, well, as usual, pick a son. They always outshoot me, but I'm still happy with the Browning. It's just a really cool gun. It's most likely not going to be a carry pistol for me for some of the drawbacks and the reasons we talked about. I mean, I'm just really, really happy with my Glock. It shoots well. I'm used to it, and you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So, but I do like this pistol. I do think it's a really classic gun, and I'm really glad I got it. And if nothing else, every time I shoot it or look at it, I'll think about my daddy, and it'll be good memories. So anyway, thanks for kind of taking this stroll down memory lane with me. If you like classic firearms and classic designs, and you're a fan of John Browning, and you get a chance to get your hands on one of these, then I would recommend it. I think they are really cool. Now again, you know, this is not a pristine, safe, queen model, but it's a shooter. But it's absolutely, it is fun to shoot. It feels really good in your hand, and it's just a piece of firearms history, and John Browning's final design, and many people think his finest. So I hope you found this interesting and informative. As always, thanks for watching Survival on Purpose. I put out a new video every Friday and Saturday, and sometimes random videos throughout the week. There's another one right there. Don't forget to check out the list of sponsors in the video description. Many of them have discount codes, and all of them are companies that I know and trust. When you support them, it helps support the channel, and I really appreciate it. Once again, my name's Brian. You're watching Survival on Purpose. Remember, survival's not an accident, so be prepared. I'll see you next time.